Welcome back to Mike's Archery, and today we want to take a look at some reel seats for bow fishing. We just received in the new Muzzy LV-R lever action quick release reel seat. So we want to take a look at that being a brand new product for this year and kind of compare it to last year's Muzzy Tac Rail seat, and then also really the only other quick release reel seat on the market, the Gargod. So we're going to kind of compare those across some function and feature as to how we like and what we don't like about them, and just take a look at them overall. So as we compare these three items, the first thing we looked at was the weight and length of these reel seats. The Gargod comes in as the lightest of the three, and the Gargod is just over 5 ounces and comes in at about 5 inches long. From there, if you wanted a basic reel seat from last year, it's rock solid, but there's no frills, no thrills about it. So the weight on the tack rail is right there at 7 ounces or a little bit under, and it comes in at 6 inches in length, sticking out in front of your bow. But you know, from last year, this was just a simple reel seat. It had a little concave edge back here, but you know, nothing fancy about it. It was a rock solid thing, but there was no adjustability to it to release quickly or not. Moving on to looking at that new Muzzy lever, it's obviously considerably larger than the rest of them on the market. It's a little bit longer at about 8 inches overall, and then once it sits back in there on the riser, it's 7 inches off the front of your bow. But it does weigh quite a bit more than the other reel seats. It's coming in at right at 10 ounces on this reel seat, so it's a little heavier than everything else that's out there on the market that we're looking at. The next feature to take a look at on these reel seats is how they mount to your bow. When you look at the basic tack rail, all you need is an oversized Allen wrench head. It bolts up to the bow. It does concave a little bit. It's going to mount solid to the front of the riser of the bow. We felt like it wasn't going to roll out too bad, just because it gave a little indexing there to keep that from happening. But just a basic mounting screw there to bolt into your stabilizer hole. When you look at the Gargod, again, you won't need an Allen wrench to tighten this one up because it just spins on, threads into that stabilizer hole, but you will need a 1/2 inch wrench to tighten that lock nut back against the riser of your bow. That is probably one of the very few faults that we find with the Gargod, is if you don't get that tight, this reel seat can roll out on you. It can loosen up and cause your reel to cock to one side or the other if you're pulling on a fish or reeling in, and it can loosen up and spin out a little bit. So when you move on to this new lever, the LV-R from Muzzy, they did something a little different than what we've seen. They put a dovetail mounting bracket system on the back of this reel seat. Again, all you're going to need is a basic oversized Allen wrench head to bolt that into your stabilizer hole. But then they put some lock nuts here on the side that once this slides over the riser against the grip of your bow, it's actually going to cradle both sides of the riser, and then you're going to be able to lock down these screws on the side and tighten those into the riser. It's going to eliminate any possibility of any roll or movement that you might get out of this reel seat. It's just going to lock solidly against your riser and around your riser, and there's no way that this reel seat's going to be able to pivot one direction or the other. The other thing we noticed about that dovetail mounting system was if you need to move it up or down, it does have 3 slots in that dovetail mounting system, and you can mount that dead center, or you can mount it high or low depending on where you actually need it to set. So if you need your reel to come up a little higher on certain bow models, or maybe it sits too high and you want to lower it down, you're able to do that with just a simple set screw here on the side and dropping that dovetail into place at whatever part you want to have it, for whatever height is comfortable for you to be able to reach that button and be able to shoot that reel. Next, we want to look at the mounting of the reel to the reel seat. Now, the nice thing about all 3 of these reels, they do give you a nice solid flat area on the top of the reel seat, so that you know that your reel is always going to sit true on a flat surface there, rather than the old screw down style that had a rounded top, things flopped and moved. But all 3 of these are going to have a really nice platform for you to mount that reel on, whatever your choice is. Now, the basic tack rail, mounting your reel, again, basic, you're just going to be able to loosen up some Allen screws underneath. It's going to loosen up these plates on top of the reel seat, and you're going to set your reel down in between those and basically bolt those right back on, allowing you to clamp those into place. Now granted, it doesn't allow for you to swap reels out very quickly, not that everybody's doing that on a regular basis, but it was a basic reel seat. It's still going to lock everything into place nicely. It's just going to take you a little time to change out and set a reel on there. Now the Gargod, we've used a Gargod a lot over the years, and that is the great functionality of it. Not only with that flat platform up top, but it is spring loaded. So you get a hold of that, and once you drop that reel in the front, and you just pull it back and drop it in there, and when it's on a boat, it's a little easier. But it's got a really heavy, tight spring to it. Bring that back and drop it right into place, and that reel is going to sit rock solid on your bow. No issues. And that is the beauty of this, and even the LV-R, is the quick release function for the reels. If you're in a tournament and you're shooting and you bust a reel, break a pickup pin, strip out the drag, whatever could go wrong, if you've got backup reels, all you have to do is grab that reel seat, pop it loose, grab your extra reel, pop it right back in there. You're back to fishing in minutes rather than changing out an entire reel setup, maybe even a reel seat, whatever you got to do to swap it out. It's just a nice, quick, easy function there. The LV-R is going to give you that same functionality, only in a different platform. It's going to allow you to flip the lever underneath, which is giving you a slide bar on the front, locking those reels in. So it does give you a nice quick release where you can drop that reel in there, snap it in place, and you're good to go. Seems to mount very solid. I don't think there's going to be any issues there. We're going to give it a test here one night, but so far we're pretty impressed with how it holds. Now, with that said, there is one thing we don't like about it, and this lever down here, even though it's going to take some pressure to flip it loose, it does rattle. It is a little loose in the housing here where it's mounted. So it's going to make some noise. It's going to rattle. I feel like, you know, if you bumped it on something, caught it on something, there is a possibility of releasing that and causing your reel to come off. Functionally, I don't know that it's going to be a major issue, but it is something we weren't real thrilled about. The tolerances could be a little bit better there and snapping into place a little bit tighter. Next, if you look at the front of all these reel seats, they do have the ability in the front, and they are threaded, to add a shoot-through rod. It's not something everybody uses, but it is a nice addition if you are interested in adding a shoot-through rod to the end of it. Does make line flow a lot easier. Gives you a little more leverage in pulling and things, keeps things from tangling up, keeps everything out in front of your bow a little further. But all three of these reel seats have that function to thread a shoot-through rod on the front of it. One of the other features here on the LV-R is it does have this adjustable screw down inside the reel seat. That's going to just allow for, if you have different size reel foot that you need to tighten up or loosen up to make it fit, it's not too bad to get to. It is hidden down in there. It's going to be an adjustment screw that's going to allow you to adjust that different size just to make sure everything is snug there on top when you do ratchet everything down. The only other feature that the basic tack rail has that is different than the other two is it does have a Picatinny rail mount on the bottom. So once you take that and mount that to your bow, if you're a bank shooter or maybe doing big heads or something where you're turning the lights on and off, you're going to be able to mount a flashlight directly to that rail underneath your reel. A little easier access, not have to have it up on the bow and things. These other reel seats do not have that extra ability to be able to mount an extra accessory as a flashlight to be able to do things of that nature. Regardless of which reel seat you pick, there is a little bit of price difference between obviously the tack rail coming in at 30 bucks. That's on the low end and going to get a basic setup going. Now if you're looking at the LV-R or the Gargod reel seat, both of those are coming in right around 70 bucks retail. So nice reel seats and doing a great job holding everything really solid on your bow. Going to take plenty of abuse. It's just up to you to choose what's going to work for you in the situation that you need it for. So be sure and check out some of the new Muzzy reel seats as well as the Gargod reel seat on our website when you get a chance. Thanks for tuning in to Mike's Archery once again. As always, hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification, and leave us some comments in the comment section below. We always love to hear what our customers have to say. Check us out on social media and give us some likes on there as well.